today we are going to be talking about this book, A Course in Mastering Alchemy, and we have Jim Self here to talk about this book. So welcome, Jim.
Hi, CJ. Nice to be with you.
So I find how you even created this book fascinating. So I thought we actually would talk about, first of all, give us a sense of what this book is all about in the body of work that you've been creating over, gosh, a very long
A
time.
long time. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there is a journey that is available to humanity to really kind of step out of this third dimensional drama, fear-based reality that has been talked about in religions for a long time. It's been talked about in a lot of the spiritual work for a long time. And it's really never been lined up. It's been out of phase. The ability to step into these multidimensional spaces, go home, if you would, fully conscious and remembering yourself has really been out of phase. It
Mm-hmm.
hasn't been available to humanity to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And in 2012, in my simple definition, the computer operating system was upgraded,
Hmm.
if you would. And in that upgrade, the ability to begin to shift from a fear-based duality separation into a state of well-being began to become very much available.
Hmm.
And so this book, which is really an outshoot of the course called Mastering Alchemy, which in the simplest terms goes from telling you how to ground. And right here, everybody goes, oh, I know how to ground. Well, actually, no, you don't,
Hmm.
because there's more to grounding than what is usually taught in the process, but real simple, to the point of altering your physicality, altering your mental emotional state. That mental emotional body was never meant to be two bodies, it was meant to be one.
Hmm.
And then stepping into that living light body, which is just something that is really an interesting concept. Everybody wants to do it, but I don't know how to do it. And the
Hmm.
whole coursework has really been constructed and directed by the archangelics, the lords of light, the ascended masters into humanity. Here's how it works.
Okay, so I
And
have a
that's
bunch
what
of
we teach.
questions because they're so that was just such even that one sentence is just densely packed with a whole bunch of things. So we live in you said a three-dimensional world. So it's um, space, time. What's the other dimension? What do you describe as the three dimensions? I'm going all the way
Well,
back to the beginning.
let's do it. Let's do it a little differently. See, there's one of the misconceptions. So let's call a dimension a box
Hmm.
for simple definition here.
Okay.
And each box has a set of rules and structures.
Hmm.
And in the third dimensional reality, there is duality and separation. And there's one very important configuration that nobody ever really talks about called time.
Hmm.
And in third dimension, we understand everything as past, present, future, and then you die. That's all there
Hmm.
is.
Hmm.
But when you start to step into this awareness, you realize time is an application. It's not a fixed concept.
Hmm.
And in third dimensional box, very little time is spent in present time. I'm so much into my past and my future that I'm worrying about or I'm hoping that it doesn't happen. And we go back and forth. And so, one of the things about third dimensional present time is it's reactionary.
Hmm.
Now, what I mean by that is we hope that thing we did once upon a time doesn't happen to us again out in our future. And because that's what we hold our attention on, and that law of attraction, which is very flawless,
Hmm.
basically brings you what you hold your attention on. And so there it is, and it jumps up and it bites you in the butt. And in that moment, you're in present time. It's, oh my God, this wasn't supposed to happen. There you are. That's your present time space. Another aspect of that box is third dimension. There is no choice. You don't have choice in third dimension. You have reaction. Now, right here, everybody goes, wait, I choose all the time. Well, yes, you do,
Hmm.
because simultaneously you're in a fourth dimensional box. They play together. And fourth dimensional box in simpleness is really three things. Present time.
Hmm.
In present time, you have choice.
Hmm.
And there's a third component which is really important to your evolution, and it's an odd word called paradox.
Mm-hmm.
And what it simply means is what was true a minute ago may not be true anymore, and what was false may not be false. So in the third dimensional space, some of the words that we deal with are always and never. She's never going to be okay. He's always going to be a liar. Well, if you hold that always and never really rigid, there's no permission, there's no room to basically allow changes to occur.
Mm-hmm.
And you look at people who are, I'm going to say, narrow and very stuck in their ways, or even very fundamental in their belief system, there's not a lot of room to experience something new. And so fourth dimension begins to be a present time set of choices that allow you to rearrange what you believe your past was all about.
Mm-hmm.
And that allows you to step into this fifth dimensional space. Well, let's just call this well-being, the space where if you said to everybody, what would you like? They would like to be happy. They'd like to live in respect, dignity, appreciation, gratitude, etc. Co-creation. They would like to laugh a lot right now. That's where everybody wants to be. And that's kind of the progression that we talk about when we start to define the boxes or the movement across the dimension.
Okay, we have a whole bunch of questions from the listeners, so I just want to answer them one by one. So
Sure.
one is that I think what you're saying is that in 2012 we have this opportunity to have an upgrade, a societal upgrade, and from being in a three-dimensional box to moving to a fourth dimensional box so that we can experience the fifth dimension, which is well-being. And so the third dimension, as I understand it, is about fear, thinking about the past, thinking about the future, but not necessarily being in the present, being reactive versus being at choice. So the fourth dimension
Right.
kind of takes us to the next level of that, where we're at choice, we're present. And the fifth dimension is a place where we have all those things that ultimately all of us are trying for: happiness,
Exactly.
bliss, all those
Exactly.
kinds of things. And so going back to what you said 5 minutes ago, you had said that I'm tracking all these things in my head. It's amazing. I'm amazed at myself. Okay, you said in 2012 that we had a chance for a societal upgrade. So what
Yeah.
happened in 2012 that enabled us to have this upgrade?
Well, it's been talked about for a long time that there will be a time that will come where humanity will make a shift. And that was in the year 2012. And so if I was to make it presented in a simple way, if you think about you upgrade your computer every once in a while, you basically create a new operating system.
Right.
And 2012 was that period of time where a new operating system was kind of stuck into each of our computers.
Like our
And
consciousness, is that what you mean?
yes, very
Okay.
much.
Okay.
There was a shift in consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
And in my reality, my relationship, we can talk about this in a minute, with the archangelics, the lords of light, the ascended masters, happen in the same way I'm talking to you right now. And so in that context, over the last 15 years or so, there has been a engagement with these beings that basically have said there is a time coming and there is a tremendous opportunity. And in that particular circumstance, one of these great beings that is named Metatron. And Metatron is both an archangelic and one of the lords of light. And I'll define that for you if you'd like. But Metatron basically said there's a pathway that humanity has never, ever walked. And in that pathway, it will allow you individually to expand your personal evolution and your ascension, and simultaneously the ability to open and hold the door open for all of humanity to step into a fifth dimensional consciousness
Mm-hmm.
and raise the earth back to its fully 12th dimensional Christed state of being.
Okay,
And at that point,
I'm in. I'm in. Sign me up. Okay, so that's
yep.
what happened. Is that, and what's interesting? I love the idea of drawing the analogy of a computer operating system, because For me, I was on Windows, like a really old version of Windows. I think it was 2013. And I kept on getting messages to upgrade, upgrade,
Yes.
upgrade, upgrade. They're, you're subject to all sorts of bugs and, and virus and malware, upgrade. And I was like, nah, nah, pass, 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 pass. And then finally, Microsoft one day just upgraded everyone. It's just like, okay, we're
Yeah.
not supporting Windows 2013 or whatever madness you're trying to, that's an old system. We can no longer support that old system anymore. And it just literally upgraded everyone. And there was this huge, uproar. And I'm sure Microsoft was like, I know there's going to be a huge uproar. We're going to do it anyways because there's in Microsoft's case, and I really don't know in the case of the Lords of the Light, it's like it's time to upgrade. We can't support all these old systems anymore. It's just too much energy and effort trying to support all these old systems. And
Sure, but
so,
there's one distinction.
yeah,
There's one difference.
yeah,
In this case, the all that is, this higher consciousness of you is not going to intercede like Microsoft interceded.
right,
See, they're not going to do it for you. They will tell you, in my reality, they say, we know all the probabilities and we know all the possibilities, but you, the humans, created the challenge in the first place, the fall of consciousness, and it's humans that have to unravel it. Now, that's not a punishment. That's a simply statement that you have the body, and this was done in physicalness, and it has to be unwound in physicalness. And they are so admiring of you and me because you said, send me at this time because I want to participate. I want to be here. I want to see something that is really remarkable and doesn't happen every day in all it is, a transformation of this magnitude. And so here we are in that physical form, observing, theoretically enjoying, and unwinding ourselves. The challenge is that that third dimension is a state of separation, a state of fear. And in real terms, it's like when you stood up and said to the Creator, send me, the Creator said, okay, but let me explain this to you. You can go down there, but you're going to put a bag over your head. You're going to forget me. You're going to forget yourself. You're going to bump around in
right.
separation. And your task is to find your way back.
Hmm.
And you said, damn, all right, watch
Yeah, I can
this.
do it. I can do it.
Yeah.
All
And
right,
here we are.
so it's 2013 or probably a little bit before 2003 because you started this a while. 2012 was when the upgrade was made available to the general public to click the button and say, I want to upgrade. And I'm not sure why, but for whatever reasons, you're saying the Lord of Light said, yes, you can now, go to CJ 2.0, and I could have elected to click on the button. You somehow got the beta version of the software earlier. And and tell
Correct.
us a little bit about you got this information in your sleep space? Is
Well,
that how you
let's
got it? It's
let's
like,
step
what?
back. No,
Okay.
no, actually,
All right.
that sleep space is. So in my reality, let's put it this way. So
Okay.
you as a spiritual being come into a physical body.
Mm-hmm.
And that little soft spot on the top of your head stays soft, very connected to that all that is space, home, we'll call it. And then you begin to engage in this physical space and you begin to pay attention to mom, dad, teacher, minister. And they all love you. And they say, we want you to be the best in our image.
Mm-hmm.
Think about it. Here, I know what's best. And all of a sudden they say, do this and do that, and this is right, and hang out with these, don't go to that school, eat these kind of foods. And so you begin to evolve. But in the process, you're still carrying around your blanket and your little teddy bear, and you're connected to that aspect of all that is.
Mm-hmm.
And pretty soon you make a decision that says, instead of playing with all the angels at the tea table here in my play space, I'm going to listen to the mom, dad, teacher, minister.
Right.
And you start shutting down your clairvoyance. You stop seeing, you stop hearing, you stop feeling, you stop paying attention to your spiritual skills. They
Mm-hmm.
don't go away, you just stop paying attention to them.
Right.
In my reality, I didn't stop paying attention.
Okay.
And so to make it one little clearer, though, this all really began for everybody in 1987.
Oh,
It happened with the Harmonic Convergence. And
okay.
it's everybody basically said, yes, we're in. Not everybody, enough said we're in to play the game, to see
Mm.
if we can take this to another level. And some very large changes happened in 1987, 1992, 1994, 2000, 2001, 2003, 2007. A very big one happened in 2011 when not in terms of religious terminology, but that aspect where Yeshua, as a being of religious, as a man, basically said, Christ will return to the planet.
Hmm.
He wasn't talking about himself as a physical being. He was talking about the consciousness, which is an aspect
Um,
of creator. And in 2011, that was returned to your heart, the heart of every single human being, and the heart of the earth.
wow.
That set up the 2012 operating shift, if you would,
Okay.
historically.
So there was
And
something that was so in 1987, the shift was kind of that was the start of it, and then in
starting
2000,
point.
yeah, we had like a little seed point, like there's someone implanted within us this kind of seed of knowingness. Is that right?
Not someone, you.
Right.
See,
So,
there's a large aspect of you that's not in the body.
mm,
And there's an aspect of you that's called the higher self.
mm,
And when you get quiet and when you start to listen to that internal guidance system in the heart, that space everybody wants to jump off the bridge and you say, or something says, I don't think so. Or in the reverse case, there's an opportunity to jump off the bridge and that says, go for it. Everybody knows that space, but to a great extent have turned their attention to the external world and listen to the external world and not necessarily to themselves.
mm. Okay. So our kind of our higher voice, our higher wisdom, that became available to us. But I'm just going back to your own experience. You said that, when you were younger, um, despite other people like myself, I think I had a certain abilities that I just shut off. I'm like, whatevs. I'm going to, go to,
Everybody.
yeah. So everyone kind of shuts off those things. There is a listener question saying, do we ever lose those things? And I think the answer is no,
No,
right? So we
no.
still have that inner, or kind of, we have all those abilities within us. And then what happens is we kind of lose that sense. So if we have it within us, what was implanted in 2011, how is that different than our
In
clairvoyance?
2011, an aspect of consciousness that is a very big part of Creator called Christ consciousness. Now, again, it's not about a religion, it's not about a man. It's an aspect of alignment. Think about it in terms of stepping into a beautiful field and waterfalls
Mm,
and clouds and mountains. And it's like, wow, God, you did a job on this. That's that energy of beauty, of love, of appreciation, of gratitude that really takes you into this fifth dimensional space. And
wow.
so what we do though is where we have been is we grow up in a place where we move away from that and we listen to the mom, dad, teacher, minister of the world. And in the process of that, they all listen to their mom, dad, teacher, minister. And so, but something happens very specifically to each one of us as we are trying to figure out who we are and how we play and what does the game look like, we turn to the external world. And quite often, that external world doesn't agree with your path.
Right.
Your path is about exploring yourself and figuring it out and enjoying and even making mistakes and going, oops, that didn't work, in allowing that oops to be just simply an oops. But what happens with mom, dad, teacher, minister, they say, what's wrong with you? How come you're so stupid? You're not attractive. You're never going to fit in. Nobody likes you. And in pure terms, they hand you a gift. You accept it. What's wrong with me? It's not even yours. And then we do something very fundamental. We begin to ask the question, what did I do wrong?
Mm.
And it's really their perception, their bad lifetime in that moment. And you're walking around the rest of your life trying to figure out, how did I get this way? What did I do wrong? Why am I not fitting in? And we begin to do something very fundamental. That fourth dimension I mentioned a little while ago is not a physical dimension. It is a thought realm.
Mm.
And so in that thought realm, thoughts are electrical and emotions are magnetic. Very important piece of information. So what happens is somebody says, here, you're not okay. You're not attractive. I'm going to give you this. And soon as you get that, let's say you were walking along, let me make a story out of it. You're walking along, you're happy, and somebody says, oh, you have a funny nose.
Right.
Now, non-statement, but what happened is you all of a sudden in your spiritual space, happy, go, oh, that's not okay. You have a thought, and you drop into that mental body. And then you go, this doesn't feel very good. Have you ever seen those big junkyard cranes, a steel cable with a magnet hanging in the end?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the magnet is simply a block of steel that has a wire wrapped around it. And so as soon as you say, uh-oh, this is not good, what's wrong with me? Am I that bad? Am I that unattractive? I never fit. You start wrapping that wire around that magnet and you create this tremendous electromagnetic field that is very restrictive, very challenging to get out of that I'm not okay for whatever reason. And then if you hold it long enough, eventually it starts out as a state of dis, big hyphen ease, drops into the emotional space. Dis, the hyphen gets a little smaller. If you hold it long enough, the hyphen goes away and it becomes dis-ease in the physical space. If you've seen people walking around, they walk around like this and you say, how are you doing? They go, I'm fine.
Right.
Well, what does I'm fine mean? Well, I'm not really fine. My husband, wife died 10 years ago and I'm not okay. And so this is where we wind up holding on to a thought. And as soon as the thought comes into our awareness, we draw the emotion to it from the past.
Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
this is the part where the course in Mastering Alchemy begins to be a piece of work to understand. It's in that space where you start to realize in the fourth dimension, present time, I have choice, and what was true doesn't no longer have to be true.
Mm-hmm.
And so my husband died 10 years ago. I don't have to draw that past time experience emotion to me. I loved my husband 10 years ago, and right now I'm fine. And you watch it happen all the time. You say, oh, I'm sorry about your loss. How was dinner last night? And the person goes, oh, dinner was really great. Well, wait a minute. What happened to sad? What
Right.
happened to I'm not okay a minute ago? So the ability to change your emotional state happens in present time. It doesn't happen in the past or the future.
Okay, so
But
let me actually make sure that I can break this down. So then what happens is that you're saying that, we have these abilities, they still stay with us. What happens is that we come into this world, this like perfect, beautiful, embodied, wonderful,
sure,
have all these different things. We buy into we buy into all the other magnets around us saying we're miserable, we're sad, we have all these emotional things because we're separate and all
right?
these other things. We kind of fall into that delusion and we think it's true because they're their moms and it's all around us. So we think this must be reality. Okay, so then what happens is we're living in a reality where it feels like, well, I guess I'm just part of whatever this third dimensional reality is. And yet we don't realize that we have choice and that we can do other things, which is what this book actually helps you do in the course, is helping you move from this three-dimensional state that we've somehow like deluded ourselves into believing is true,
Right,
even though there's something else available to us. And
right.
so the something available that so not only are all the wonderful gifts that we came in with available to us, but as of 2011, something else was given to us, which is this Christ consciousness, which I don't know enough about, but isn't it that our ability to see that we ourselves have Christ abilities? Is that
Well,
what that is, or what
let's
is?
just keep it simple. Let's
Yeah.
keep it really simple. Let's just simply say it's that space that you appreciate yourself. As simple as I like me. Now,
Ah,
how often do you say to yourself, I like me, with a feeling? We don't do it. We're too busy in what's wrong with me. So let's just say it's a space of like, I like me. I'm enjoying myself. I'm pleased with myself. I start to vibrate in a elevated state that feels good. Now, that's very accessible when you start to recognize that I am not my external world. And so in this course, in this book, there's a whole bunch of very fundamental tools that allow you to start to recognize, for example, there's a tool we use as a rose as a point of delineation that says right at the edge of your aura, if you were to stick your arm straight out in front of you, bend your palm towards you, that's approximately where your aura starts and stops, we'll call it.
okay.
Right? If you put a rose right at the edge of that and you stand on your side of the rose, you pull your energy back to the other side of your hand on your side, then effectively this is me and everything on the other side is Shakespeare's theater to entertain me.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you can get to that point, all of a sudden you start to realize as people are angry or in drama and traumas and transitions, on your side, you don't have to buy into that. You don't have to agree with everybody in the office who's upset with the boss because you weren't. But all of a sudden, everybody's in this energetic funk, and then you start to feel the same thing. People don't have a sense of where they start and stop. Now, that's not an accurate statement, but for this purpose, if you stay on your side of that line, you all of a sudden get to perceive the world in very different ways.
Mm.
In that context, you begin to choose what you wish to get engaged with and what you don't. The operative word is choose. You also begin to find yourself in present time. Here I am observing my reality, but not going to my reality.
Mm-hmm.
That begins to evolve into I'm in the world, but not of that world. Now
Mm.
think about it. What if you were happy, pleasant, you liked yourself, you were comfortable, you were able to feel words like certain and capable, seniority. Just simply take a breath. This is who I am. And from there, observe the world without getting engaged in all the noise.
Mm.
Would you be a different person in
Right.
your interaction?
Right.
And so that's the space that starts to allow you to step into a place you've always known. You've always known that there's something else in me. There's something bigger. There's something here, but I'm not finding it. You begin to realize the you that's inside you with some very simple tools structured in a way of fourth dimension. If I said to you, do you know what certainty is? Right here, people go, oh, yeah, I know what certainty is. Then if I said, well, wait a minute, take a breath, close your eyes, and feel certain. All of a sudden, the body sits up, shoulders go back. There's a very different alignment of energy in feeling certain versus thinking certain.
Mm-hmm.
You get
Mm-hmm.
calmer, you get pulled into present time, and you have choice.
Mm. Mm-hmm. Okay, so in your book, it's basically allowing people in various contexts, and as I read the very beginning, this is channeled body of work, and so tell us a little bit about how you came up with this information, and you talked about, and I think this is related, is ascension. I know that people talk
Very
about
much.
ascension, and I'm like, what is that? And anytime I saw it during the time when there was supposedly an ascension, it was all people who seemed to me to be somewhat like there's going to
It's
be
woo
a
woo.
spaceship coming down, and I mean, I was like, that's just I can go woo woo, but that's like gone
Right.
beyond woo woo. So,
It is.
so tell me a little bit maybe about the ascension, these ascended masters, and what we don't get, because during that period, it really was off-putting to me, this whole ascension thing.
Absolutely. And it should be. One of the things is most of the people talking about it have no idea what they're talking about in the first place.
Okay.
It's so one of the things that happens in people playing in the spiritual game, to a great extent, it becomes horizontal spiritualism. I talk to you and you talk to somebody, and then we all talk to each other. But there's no necessarily body of information. It's a lot of speculation on what should be.
Mm-hmm.
So let's take that word ascension and not even really use it. Let's just basically say you are an evolving being of consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
You are beginning to know yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And let's just say this, we're going to pretend for a moment that the 2012 computer upgrade really happened. Now we're just going to pretend. We're not going to sell it. We're just going to pretend. And in that context, I have an opportunity to begin to know myself in a different configuration.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to start to evolve. And if I said to you, do you like the idea of the rose where you get to observe from your side the noise over there, but not get sucked into it or go into it? And I'm going to assume you and I both say yes, that would be
Yes.
interesting. Right there, that's an evolution by itself. I have a new point of reference to view my life from.
Mm-hmm.
Very simple. So in this context of channeling, which has always been real, everybody has that ability available to them. There's a in the but the no, let me not go there. So in this case where I play, where you play, there's a voice in your head every once in a while, and it just says, turn right rather than turn left, type of thing. And as you begin to listen to that, in my reality, I didn't shut it off in my early age.
Mm-hmm.
And so that voice has really always been there in my reality. And that voice started to begin to turn into other voices in my reality. And then pretty soon it began to be really clear as I started understanding how to turn on my clairvoyance and clairaudience. Evolution. But these beings basically have said very clearly, there is a pathway to be walked that will allow humanity to step out of this confined, restricted, limited, separated state of being into a state of well-being, of beauty and curiosity and co-creation and appreciation, gratitude, and enjoy one another. In that fifth dimension, words like safety and trust don't even exist.
Right.
There's nothing to be distrusting of.
Right. Right.
So this whole body of work is not so much about some woo-woo or some place that the spaceship's coming. It's really how do you begin to know yourself in a manner that you can discern between something that works and something that doesn't work, something that doesn't feel good and something that does feel good, thoughts that really are harmful, that really aren't something I want to run through my body. Because when you get into, you've seen it, you've experienced it, when people get into sexism, racism, the politicizing of events, you start to hold those thoughts and the body doesn't feel very good. It gets angry, it gets emotional, it gets sick to its stomach.
Mm-hmm.
One of the reasons all that is because it's misaligned with who you are.
Mm.
I don't like me when I'm in this tension, drama, uncomfortableness.
Mm.
And a lot of times it's all built on competition, imposition, opposing on controlling, dominating, greed, etc. To a spiritual being like yourself and the people who are listening, those words don't feel very good in the body.
Mm-hmm.
And if you said, do you want to keep living there? Virtually everybody goes, no, but I don't know how to get out of it.
Mm. Okay,
This
so
is all about how to get out of it.
so the ascension, as I understand it, is really an evolving. It's your ability to take what has already been inside of you, as of 2011, and probably some would argue forever, right? So,
Forever.
but it's like a certain kind of consciousness. We got like a bonus pack, like, so let's say that, I mean,
Good. Yes, sure.
right, because I believe that from a lot of the texts that I've read, it's always been within us, right? But maybe we had like a booster, or like a little cheat.
That works.
So we had something inside of us that kind of gave us the ability to tap into this other thing. And really the ascension is kind of the evolving day by day, moment by moment, and practicing of of discerning, um, discerning
Choosing.
where we want to go and where we don't. Is Buddhism my path or is it not? Is yelling at this person my path or is it not? It's just, and there's probably billions of different choices that we have to make every day. And it's to
Correct.
be clear in the fourth dimensional space, as I understand it, how to make those choices so that we aren't at the will of these three dimensions below us. Do I understand?
Yeah,
Okay.
basically right. So it really creates a space. If you just think about it, if I could be in present time like we are right now. So right here, we're not thinking about breakfast or dinner tonight
Mm-hmm.
or this morning. We're right here. And right here, we can engage in a manner that says, do you mean this or do you mean that? Present time. And we could begin to start talking about something where see, let me add one little piece to this. Most of the beliefs that you hold and most of the thoughts that you think are not yours.
Mm-hmm.
They're not even yours. They pass through your head all day long. They're noise. Most of the beliefs, if you really think about where did you get that belief, you heard a best friend, mom, dad, teacher, minister, somebody said, this is how it is. And as we grow up, we go, okay. And then it becomes the belief. And then it becomes an automatic habit. And then it shapes our personality. When you begin to get into present time, think about things like racism. People who are engaged in racism, a lot of these are really good people caught up in a set of beliefs that were never even really theirs.
Mm.
And if you could stop and say, here, be in present time, how does it feel in your body to hate that person over there that you don't even know? And I've dealt with people like that many times. And when you get them into that situation, not making them bad, more often than not, they burst into tears. They
Mm.
don't know how to get out of what they're caught up in. So,
Mm.
this fourth dimensional space of choice, allowing paradox to be you can change your past and you can redirect your entire future right now. There
Mm.
really is no past and there is no set future.
Mm-hmm.
There's only right now. And when you can learn to change the emotion or not bind the emotion to the thought, it's like something happens and you say, "Oh, I'm really angry." Well, wait a minute, something just happened. You don't have to allow anger to be the directive of the emotion.
Right.
Mm,
Yeah, I
So,
get it. I get it. You're
but
talking about going back to the
the
rose
side of the
boundary where you're like, if
rose,
I stay on the other side, my side, without engaging in the energy around me, then I can actually tune in to say, if I'm really present at this moment, someone is yelling a racist remark to me, and if I'm really present in this moment and can stand behind stay within my own boundary,
space.
yeah,
Yep.
then what is it that I'm feeling and what is true at this moment versus no, you do not, don't you do not cut, don't you call me, that kind of thing would be
Yes.
probably our
Yes.
normal go-to place. But if you just can
Yes.
kind of stand behind that, um yeah,
Here, let me add one piece to that.
yeah.
So, the real question right here in this example is who's carrying the rock in her backpack or his backpack? That person, a racist, a sexist,
Hmm.
whatever it might be, is acting out over there. But who's upset?
Right.
They may be upset, but how does it feel in your body to be in a reactionary third dimensional response? I'm the one who's got the anger. I'm the one who's got the outrage. I'm the one who is getting sick to my stomach, engaging in the story of XYZ.
Right.
So these tools are not about hiding. They're not about avoiding. They're not about finding some place to just disengage. They're really about I am choosing. I can observe you being who you are. I can even allow you being who you are while I allow me to be who I am.
Mm.
And I don't have to fix that person. But as you begin to get more aligned with yourself, what you realize is I see that person is in a lot of pain
Mm-hmm.
and I can just watch them. And inevitably, there's a point where people get very vulnerable in their own pain. And this is where that fifth dimensional aspect of you says, have you ever considered this? Can I assist you? What would make you feel better? You don't beat people up when they're vulnerable. You simply reach out and you only give them what they can have. You don't fix them. You never fix anybody. You can't fix anybody, but you can hold a level of light that they can choose to match and begin to follow.
Mm-hmm.
That's the fifth dimensional individual.
Okay, so when we spoke before the interview, you had said that you've been taking a group of people online for a period of 3 years or more on kind of like a graduate study level of which this book is based on, and so. And you've said that as of 2014, there was this kind of finality about it. Like you had yourself gone through this program and had this ascension process where you're constantly having your own like mini updates that were happening
Yes.
throughout. Um,
Yeah.
Tell me where you are right now and what it's like now that you've kind of integrated, evolved. Like what state are you in now?
Let me put 3 steps in perspective
Sure.
and then I'll answer that question. So what has to happen first is a person has to recognize things like we just did a minute ago asking you about the words certain or feeling certain. Understanding grounding is not just simply a line, it's a couple of things that go on. Beginning to define where you start and you stop, which really isn't accurate, but it gives you the perspective. From that place, you start to realize, and there's a lot about going into the heart,
Mm-hmm.
and you start to realize this is all very possible because you've always known it's possible.
Mm-hmm.
From there, you start to realize that the external world really is presenting lots of things, but most of those things have nothing to do with me at all. And the world right now is in a huge transition of which most of what you're watching literally has nothing to do with you as an individual. So you're able to get a little bit more contained in your space, and this word discerning becomes a very big word. The next part of this is you begin to put that mental and emotional body back together. You begin to recognize I can hold a thought and I can choose an emotion that I wish to engage with in that thought.
Mm-hmm.
From there, there's in the instructions of the Archangelics, the Lords of Light, the Ascended Masters, there was a weekly class, and it was do this, change this around. You begin to change the physical body. You begin to change the brain. You begin to redirect the messaging in the neuron system into the nervous system. You begin to elevate your awareness into a place where the question you're asking is you build this light body.
Mm-hmm.
Very instructed. It's not just, oh, some woo woo. It's do this, what happens? This isn't a 2-week course. This is a journey over a few years.
Mm-hmm.
There have been now quite a few thousands of people who got to the point of that seventh layer of the light body. And at that point, it was done. It wasn't, oh, Jim's got to reinvent himself as a teacher because he needs an income stream. It was like, no, this is the whole body of work. And that's pretty much what is in the book. It's not the whole course.
Right.
It basically says, here's what happens on this journey.
Mm.
There are numbers of lectures or the words spoken by the Archangelics, the Lords of Light. In the book, there's even a link that takes you into numerous
Yeah,
free
they're
lectures,
right. YouTube
directions,
videos.
videos. It's all about, and the thing is, I may never see you ever again. And that's perfectly okay because this isn't about me. It's about a person beginning to know themselves in words like certain and senior and capable, gracious, allowing others, recognizing appreciation.
Mm. Mm.
That's the journey.
So you've been on this journey yourself. You've hit, and I apologize. I haven't got to the book where
No problem.
I skimmed past and saw that there is this kind of the sixth layer of living light body. So there's the seven layer of light body. I'm
Yes.
not even sure what a light body is, but
Not important.
okay,
Just simply not important.
okay, but I assume that it's at some. I assume it means that you're vibrating at a certain vibrational
At a
level
higher,
so
yes.
that you can be in. I assume that this means that you're vibrating at a certain level where you're more often living in this fourth or fifth dimension versus being in our three level dimension. Is that fair to
Correct.
say? Okay.
Yeah, and just let's keep it real simple. It's a space. Use those words: gratitude, appreciation, humility, respect, laughter, joy. If you could put yourself into that space and you could live there in present time, like every minute be at that level of happy, and being able to discern between all the noise and the third dimensional trauma and not get engaged in it, not as avoidance, but as choice. And where there's an opportunity to uplift, nurture, and assist, you do. Now just think about it in those terms rather than some ascending into and the great beings. Nobody knows
Right.
what that means.
Right.
So this book is meant to be a very practical, step-by-step understanding of who you are, where you come from, what you're all about,
Mm.
without making it, you know, like, go hang out with me and someday the spaceship will come.
Right.
There's no spaceship. There's no spaceship.
Don't wait for the spaceship because it ain't coming. You are the
No, it's not coming.
spaceship. Okay. That's what I'm hearing, right? You are the spaceship. All right.
Exactly.
So you've been in this, I assume that you, as well as thousands of other students, are now at this seventh light body stage. And
Yes.
when you're now, how's life different for you?
Now it gets interesting because literally now it's all about the light that you hold.
Mm.
And see, I say in the courses, there will come a day when you'll sit on a park bench somewhere and just radiate a level of light. That's not a projection. That's a reality. And people around you will put down their guns because
Mm.
it makes no sense to them to hang on to this gun. All you're doing is radiating a field of light that creates an environment for a person to know themselves as they really are. There's no punishment, there's no prison for that person. And you've seen people who just simply say, I can't do this anymore. It doesn't feel good. And they'll put down their guns. They will start to love one another. They will recognize that hating people was never even their reality in the first place. It was the gift from mom, dad, teacher, minister who were in that level of pain themselves.
Mm.
This is what's happening to the world. Now, understand everybody's not going on this journey at the same time. There's no limitations or exclusion, but there's a lot of people right now digging in their heels and arguing for status quo, arguing for war, arguing for racism, arguing for sexism. And at the same time, if you look at the world, a large part of the world is saying no more. Me
Mm.
too. No more.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Beginning to stop it. People are waking up. They don't know why they're waking up. That's these vibrations of light in this transitional shift that is really beginning to
I see.
engage.
So this is mapping back to something that you said earlier, which was that um, that that we really it's about waking ourselves up, and so that we can actually be vibrating at this higher light, and just our presence, our literally our physical presence, but in being present and in this other dimension is what we need, and even just that alone helps make the world a better place,
Absolutely.
right? I love it.
Absolutely.
All right. So tell us, are you, just to wrap up, we have one more minute. Tell us about your website. Can people still go to this course, or is it pretty much just an
Oh,
online
absolutely. No,
thing?
no. It's completely always open. So the
Okay.
book is something to start with because it gives you a good starting reference to everything I just said.
Okay.
There's an online, you can go to masteringalchemy.com, but the link is in the book and you can buy the book on Amazon, and they've just, in fact, this it's number one on Amazon's new thought. We were really excited about that.
Yay,
Yeah.
congratulations. So, and then you can go to the website and can someone join midstream if like I listened to the Fired Up with
There,
CJ show, I want to join, can you? Or is it's a
absolutely.
new class starting at a certain period?
There are free lectures every month. There is a huge library of free information. Our business model is to give you substantive information and let you choose. It's not
Okay.
fluff and sales, and we don't sell it. It's like, here, you decide, and I'm going to give you far more than you expect to experience.
So we've been talking to Jim Self. What a great last name given your your focus.
Right.
Talking
It came
about
with the body, too.
exactly a course in mastering alchemy. Thank you so much. Thank you
My
for
pleasure to
being
be
here.
with you.
So we're back with Jim Self, and we have some exclusive YouTube information, and we're going to be talking about two things. One is the grounding core that he talks about in his book, as well as during the interview he talked about Rose. So he's going to, in the next couple minutes, just step us through some exercises that we can practice at home. So thanks for staying a little bit later too.
Oh, my pleasure. Absolutely. So, all right. So, you want to talk about the grounding? The
Yes.
grounding is something that people basically think they know. Many people who are in spiritual practices, one of the things you learn first is grounding, and grounding just simply being a line from the first chakra at the tip of the spine. Close your eyes, create an imaginary line down to the center of the earth, is the general instruction.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you think about grounding, you put your hands under water to kind of take a static or an anxiety out of your body.
Mm-hmm.
But what grounding really does is, I said in our interview, thoughts are electrical and emotions are magnetic. And the purpose of the grounding, the straight line, the first line from the tip of the spine to the center of the earth, if you take a breath, close your eyes if you want to do that with me as I tell you, is just simply create that imaginary line from in your mind, from the tip of the spine, and then it could look like a pipe, a chain, a tree root, just an imaginary line, if you would,
Mm-hmm.
into the center of the earth. And then take a breath and relax. Now, what happens is, the space where you get into a set of thoughts, and the thought just keeps bouncing around in your mind. You can't get rid of the thought. When you basically create this part of the grounding, it is to siphon off thoughts that are not yours or don't vibrate in alignment with your particular energy field. So when you can take that breath, get a little calmer, and then have a sense of relaxing your butt physically into the chair and having the sense of grounding, it starts to siphon off the electrical nature of thoughts that are not aligned with you.
Mm.
The second part of that is if you would imagine a coil or wrapping a wire around that line to the center of the earth.
Mm-hmm. This one.
Yeah, so the coil. That coil basically is what siphons off the emotions. So I'm angry. I'm really upset. I can't get past this. Why did she say that? How come he does this to me? And that emotion, same thing, sitting down, just relaxing, allowing the thought to basically go down the grounding cord. Just imagine I'm letting it go down the grounding cord. A second breath and start to allow the emotions to simply go away. Let the body calm down. The grounding cord knows exactly what to do, but there are two components that generally make the thoughts and the emotions leave the brain, leave your consciousness much more quickly than has been done as I've followed it over many years of how people teach it. So, very simple process, not a
Mm-hmm.
complicated piece. And you can do it anywhere. Just find a place, close your eyes, and decide, all right, I don't need these thoughts. And the grounding is going to siphon off the
I
emotion.
have a technical question. Sometimes people talk about like tightening various parts of their of the the grounding, whether it's your sphincter or, your
Sure.
whatever other part that you have,
Yep.
female or male. Does that matter in terms of whether it's open or closed in terms of letting go
No,
of
no.
energy?
One of the things that you can do also, you can just draw a line, particularly women, from the ovaries right into that grounding cord,
Oh, I like
because
that.
there's
Okay.
particularly, it's another whole element is, but a lot of times, this, men look at a woman and, they go right to your chest, or
Right.
their thought basically goes, oh, she's really hot. That thought goes right into a female body. And
Ah,
so, and women know that, it's
right.
like, oh, you jerk. But that energy also ground the ovaries, particularly the vagina, the wombs, just
Right.
the
Going it
sense of
down on like,
right, my sexual aspects of me. I'm being simple. Just let that recognize that male energy. Don't beat it up, because as soon as you go into resistance to it, then you keep it. Just simply recognize I can let that guy go, and all of a sudden a lot of things begin to go in with women.
mm,
We've watched this over the
mm,
years.
mm.
Very, very helpful for
Wow.
women.
Love it.
Guys too. One of the things where men have prostate cancers, they engage with a woman, whether a mother or wife or whatever it may be, who controls their creativity. I don't
Mm,
give you permission to create, however the message is. And so a guy just grounding that prostate, which is pretty much this right at the first chakra too, starts to siphon off a lot of the abusiveness or a lot of the non-approval of who a male is as a
right,
male.
because it's all trapped in that area. Rose, can you step us through that one too?
I can. So just think of what a rose looks like in your imagination. Keep it
Mm-hmm.
really simple. And the purpose of the rose is to create a point of delineation. That's exactly what it's for. So in this context, what happens, or in your walking around context, there's no distinction between you and the world. People have ugly thoughts, have all kinds of thoughts. Those thoughts pass through you all day long.
Mm-hmm.
There's emotions that other people have that you all of a sudden absorb, and I was in a good mood a minute ago. Why am I now feeling lousy?
Mm-hmm.
So this tool we call the rose, it basically works like this. If you were to take your arm and stick it straight out in front of you, and then turn your palm towards you,
Mm-hmm.
and basically right there is plus or minus the edge of your aura. This aura goes all the way around you in that kind of same fashion
Right.
exactly,
And then on top of you
and
too.
over and below you. Right.
Okay.
So it's kind of that proverbial egg that you're
Right.
in shape.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But in this case, if you put your hand out in front of you again, palm towards you, and create a mental image of a rose right at that point. Close your eyes and create
So
that
I'm doing
rose.
it in my palm. I'm imagining a rose right here in my palm or outside my.
Oh, just consider that all that is a line where your hand is a line. It's the edge of your aura.
Okay.
And all I'm asking you to do is kind of right at that location, create an image of a rose. And once you've got it, go ahead and put your hand down. Okay.
Okay.
Now, the first rule to play this game is right here, take a breath and be on your side of that line. And this is where you don't have to put your hand up, but a lot of times in the instruction, have people hold their hand up right there and basically get an idea of where it is. Close your eyes, get a good idea where your hand is, and then leave the rose there and drop your hand down and bring your energy to your side.
Okay.
The game is I'm on my side and everything on the other side is Shakespeare's theater to entertain me.
Mm-hmm.
Really interesting concept.
Right.
Okay. Now, there's a couple pieces to this that make this even more interesting. So if I was standing in front of you and I had my hand up right where you have your hand up, theoretically, my rose is right there and your rose is right there also. But what happens if I take a step forward? All of a sudden, my energy, me, is in your
Right.
space.
There's
It
an
kind of just
intersection of two Venn diagrams. Yep.
right, exactly. So what you want to do here is this gets to be an amusing and a very effective experience when you play is the operative word here, not work, play at it. So when somebody is steps in that example, we're exactly on at each rose in the same place. And I take a step forward. What you do is you just bring your rose back
So I'll pretend I'm
halfway.
you right. Okay. So you bring your own.
Yes. So you bring it towards you and you
Ah,
stay 50%. Your rose is 50% between me and you. I
okay.
take another step, you bring it 50% between me and you. Theoretically, and I do this in exercise all the time, I step into somebody's space and they go, "Oh my God, you're too close." Okay, now put the rose up. And I can walk right up to the tip of your nose and you keep your rose 50% between us. And the energy is calm and comfortable. Now, do you want to have conversations like that? No. I take a step back, you move it 50%. Another step, 50%. You move it right to the edge of your aura. And at that point, you don't care what I'm doing. I'm part of the theater.
Okay.
Make sense? So you just bring it closer and closer and out. The place to play with this is play with it in your family space a little bit without telling anybody what you're doing. It's all about you trying to figure out. Go to the grocery store, put your groceries on the counter, talk to the checker. How are you doing? Nice to see you. What's going on in your life?
Right.
And stay on your side. Simple tool.
I like
Now,
it.
now, let me put it in perspective. All these people that are playing in that light body experience, I say to them often, of all the things you've learned, the pieces that have made this all happen is understanding how to use this rose. The number one tool of all of them. Secondly, understanding how to use the words, being the words, which is another lesson. But understanding this rose allows you to begin to discern your reality without getting your reality all over you.
Right. Well, it's funny because one of the things that I've been told is my aura is really big, and so it must be that I'm not purposely. It's just, my rose is extended further than maybe need be because I'm an extrovert. I don't know.
Well, no,
But
no, the rose is where the rose is.
right.
That doesn't distinct your extrovertedness, your enthusiasm. What happens is you get out of your defined space, a person like that. That's not a good or a bad thing, but a lot of times you'll get in other people's space and then they might get angry or annoyed or not like you. That's what happens to extroverts.
Um,
So one of the things that happens when you begin to play with the rose, it gets very interesting. You can be very extroverted inside the rose. You can be very influential. And yet in that space, you can raise the energy up, you can lower the energy, you can change the tone of the words you speak, you can change the color of your crown chakra, you can influence very significantly managing your space in that rose.
I love it. We've been talking to Jim Self about, and he has just shared with us 2 exercises, also in the book, A Course in Mastering Alchemy. Thank you so much. Thank you for staying later, too.
My pleasure,
Blessings.
Shide. Nice to do this with you.
Okay, cool.
Blessings.
It means so much to me that you're listening to the show. Would love your support in any way by giving me comments below, or to subscribe to the show, or share the show with friends. Thank you again for your support. Love and blessings.